And we welcome back everyone as we broadcast here from the home of Reb Leib and Bruchi Twirsky here in beautiful Hollywood, Florida. We thank them and we wish that they should have in their home gesund parnas and nachas and everything wonderful. We thank you for joining us on this beautiful evening as we need to hurry because I'm supposed to be speaking in Heichal HaTorah, a Shalom Bayis here at 9:30. You think that's a prompt 9:30?
Yiddish at 9:30.
It's a Yiddish at 9:30. Okay. Okay, but they show a makbid at 7 o'clock Marav, I'll tell you that much. That's almost universal. Okay. We are holding now 4 lines from the top of Kuf Yud Dalet Amud Aleph, and let's see, we welcome in everybody in the Agudas Yisrael of Fairways, and I miss everybody over there. So says the Gemara, Amar Rav Ashi, Ki Avina Bei Rav Huna, when I was in the academy of Rav Huna, Iboilon, the question was raised, Adam Choshev, an important person. Now here in the Kusi court, they listen to an important person like 2 people. Now that's not. Mo Kushner, good to see you, Amir Hashem. Mo, good to see you. Good to Bach. Mo comes in as our 29th Zoomer of the evening. And Mo, I hope to see you by Mincha, Amir Hashem, tomorrow. Are you going
to be Shachris at the Yom Israel?
No, Shachris not, Mincha.
I'll try to make, because I got a few things to do, but I'm going to do my best to see you there.
Yeah, I hope to come. Shachris, I don't know. I might be staying here in Hollywood, and even if I don't stay in Hollywood, I'll daven later. They daven too early for me. How long Sunday morning would it take for me to get back to?
No traffic Sunday.
So how long would it be?
You have to go to
yeah.
25 minutes.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
Half hour. Whoa.
Yeah. So because BRS has a minyan at 9:15.
BRS is in Deerfield Beach.
It's in Boca.
Oh, Boca's further in Deerfield.
Further?
It's another 2 exits. Add another 5 minutes.
It's okay. So, but still, I could get up a little later if I want to. Yeah.
We have 8:30.
8:30. I know. Would it be easier for you that we should leave? Tell us the truth.
It'll be our honor to have you. So whichever is easiest.
We'll see what my wife decides. So anyway, Amar Rav Ashi Ki Avina Bei Rav Huna, when we were in the academy of Rav Huna, Iboilon, they declared as follows: Adam Choshev, if let's say the person that knows the testimony on behalf of the Kusi is an important man. Now in the Kusi court, they wrongfully trust an important man, like 2 people. That's not Jewish law. The Samche Alei Kebei Trey, and therefore Mapke Memoina Pume, they take wrongfully money away, even on the testimony of this important man, and therefore, since that's not Jewish law, you shouldn't give testimony. On the other hand, since he's an important man, he really can't dodge the court. Since he's an important man, he's not able to really avoid the court. Therefore, maybe since that would result in a Chilul Hashem, he should give testimony. So take Tishbi Ataretz Kushas Ribayis. Amar Rav Ashi. Hi, Bar Yisrael. The Zavan La'ara La'oivei Kechavim. Here is a Yid who bought land who sold land La'oivei Kechavim to a guy. So what happened over here is Marshall sold land to Pete, a mitzvah de Bar Yisrael Chavre, and it was on Shelley's border. So here he sells to the hooligan Pete on Shelley's border. Mishamtinale, we excommunicate him. Boy, do we have to get into him when he says he doesn't care about 50 Zumas now that he has a lousy bottle of bourbon, boy, if you think life was hard till now, oh boy, says the Gemara, Mishamtinale, we excommunicate him. Now why? What did he do wrong? My time. If it's because of not offering Shelley first dibs on the land, V'amamar, the master says, Zovin meyakum, you could buy land from a guy. Now here, if Marshall buys land from a guy, even though it borders on Shelley's land and you're supposed to give Shelley the first shot at it, he's allowed to buy it from the guy. Because we want to get land out of the hands of a guy. And if Marshall's going to wait, maybe he'll sell it to a different guy. V'zovin la'akim, and also Marshall could sell it to Pete. He doesn't have to worry about din of the bar mitzvah. The din of the bar mitzvah is the buyer. The buyer has to give first dibs to Shelley. But the buyer here is Pete, so Marshall doesn't have to worry about it. So lekam mishum din of the bar mitzvah. So what do you want that you're excommunicating Marshall, even though you don't really need a good reason to excommunicate Marshall? And the reason why we excommunicate him is because Shelley says, Arvali Aryeh Amitzray, you put a lion on my border. I mean, this guy, he's going to have drunken friends over, he's not going to fulfill the laws of Hilchos Shchenim, he's going to be playing loud music to all hours of the night, and therefore, however, says the Gemara, Mishamtinole, we excommunicate Marshall, ad the Kabbalah until he accepts upon himself kol unsa de asi machmase, any damages that Shelley might get for putting Pete next to him.
And Shelley will beat up the parties to it.
Now, next Mishnah, if you hear some static, Rabbi say, it's only from Bourbonsville. Says the Gemara, Notlu muhsin es chamayrai. If, let's say, one of these illegal tax collectors comes into Marshall's house and seizes his prize donkey, and feeling pity for Marshall, he gives him another donkey in exchange. He throws him a bone. He takes his prize donkey and he gives him a shoddy donkey. Notlu listim es ksusai. They rob him of his cashmere coat, and they give him a threadbare coat. So the shaila is, can Marshall take it? Because this guy's a thief, and you're not allowed to take from a thief. Harielu shaloi, says the Gemara. Harielu shaloi, he's allowed to keep it because the owners gave up hope already. So therefore, Marshall could take what he gave him in exchange. Hamatzum in anar, if let's say Nachman saved something from a flash flood, or a gayas, or from a pogrom, or a listim, or bandits. So he saved somebody's stuff. Now it has the guy's name on it. So imnis Yashua Bailim, the Gemara will say, if Nachman heard that the owners gave up, I'll never get it back, Hariel Shaloi, he's allowed to keep it. V'chein nechil shel dvar, if somebody had a swarm of bees, a swarm of bees is expensive, and they flew away, imnis Yashu, if the owners gave up hope, Hariel Shaloi. I'm Rabbi Yechim Broika, Nemenes Isha Cotton Limer, a woman or a minor who usually are not believed, they're believed to say, Mekan Yotzen Nechil Zeh, that this swarm of bees came from Nachman's house. Now, let's say Nachman's bees, they're getting away, and they land on Marshall's trunk. He has an expensive tree, and they land on Marshall's trunk. So the din is, Umahalach b'seit stei chavei, right? Nachman can come into Marshall's field, la'atzeles nechilai, to save his swarm of bees, The Hizik, if while he comes in, he damages Marshall's crops, Mishalim Asher Hizik. He has to pay Marshall what he damages. Avaloi Yokid says Soicha, but he can't cut down Marshall's branch of the tree Almanas Litein Esadamim in order to refund him the money. In other words, he says, if I don't cut down the branch, they're going to get away. So he wants to cut it down and cover it with a tarp. Rabbi Yishmael Menashe Rabbi Yochanan ben Reikaimer Af Kaitzes, he's allowed to cut down Marshall's branch, V'noisin Esadamim, and refund him for the money. We're going to see on Amid Beis, because Almanas Cain Hinchel Yeshua Esaretz, that a person will have the right to do this.
Even if it's a tree that gives him shade?
Even if it's a tree that gives shade, he has to refund what it cost. Now, Tana, we learned in the Brisa, Im Noto, the din is that let's see if we could mute this person, whoever he is. Now, remember we said that the illegal tax collector came to Marshall's house, took away his donkey, or took away his clothing. So the din is, im notal, if Marshall took a donkey in exchange, he has to return it to the first owner. Now, in our Mishnah says he could take it. So says the Gemara, you know why? The owner, the Brisa holds, our Mishnah says that Marshall could take the other donkey because the owner was already miyayish. And now you have Yish and Shina Rishus. It's in Marshall's possession. However, the Brisa says he has to return it to the original owner because Savar Yish Kedi Loikani. He holds that Yish alone doesn't acquire. And the fact that it's now by Marshall, but it came to him in a forbidden way. It was given to him by the thief. Others say, if Marshall wants to be a goody-goody, if he wants to be a good Samaritan, he could return it to the original owner. My time, well, what's the reason? Because Yish Kedi Kani, he acquires a Yish and passing it into his Rishus. Miu, Im Amar, on the unlikely chance that he says, I don't want to benefit with money that's not mine, then he does the right thing and he returns it to the original owner. Hari Elu Shalai, the Mishnah says that Marshall could take the donkey, he could take the clothing, because the owners gave up hope. Amar Rav Ashi, that's only if the thief was a guy, so that the owner gave up hope. But if the owner was a yid, if the thief was a yid, the owner's not going to give up hope because he has recourse to go after him. He's going to be afraid to go after a guy. The next day, I'm going to take him to court, to Bezdin, I'm going to get it back. Ask Rabbi Yosef, Adrabah, Ibcha Mestavra. You know, they say that a Bezdin has no teeth. The Goyish court, the Daine Begite, they enforce the law, they send out, the sheriff, Loi Miyayish, she doesn't give up hope. Yisrael, Kavan, the Imre Meimar, the Bezdin only says to give it back. They don't have a sheriff to get it back. They don't have a marshal to get it back. Miyayish. Others say that Yisrael, Kavan, the Imre Meimar, since in the Yiddish court they'll say, do you have witnesses? Do you have proof? A Goyish court will take him, okay, he's a thief, he'll believe it. But a Yiddish court they'll say, do you have witnesses? And since he doesn't have witnesses, he's miyayish. Ela iyamar, a seifa itmar. If it was said on the seifa. Hamatzel min agayis and min alistim. If Nachman gets something from a pogrom, from bandits, imnis yashu abaylim, if the owners give up hope, then Nachman could take it. Stam aloi. But min stam, we don't assume that the owners give up hope. When do we don't assume that the owners give up hope? That's by a guy, because the guy court sends out the marshal. Mishum dedaine begite. Avalistim Yisrael. Cave on the Imre Meimar, since the court just says give it back, but they don't enforce it, or since the court asks for Eidos and you won't have Eidos, Miyayish der min astam, Nachman can keep it because the owner is Miyayish.
Okay, you like that?
Okay, now, I don't know who NJ is, but whoever NJ is, please, you keep on unmuting yourself. Now,
New Jersey.
they do. Now, it stands for not joking, but stop it already, Marshall. Now, Tanan Hasam, Tanan Hasam, how are we doing with time? Okay. We also have to do the Mishnah Yomi, so we have a lot to do yet. Tanan Hasam. Oiroi shel balabayis. Hides belonging to a private owner. Machshava mitamasan. As soon as he has in mind that it's finished, and he's using it as a mat, so it's a keli, it's mekabel tumah, and it's going to be tummy. But v'shel avdan, but the hides of a tanner, ein machshava mitamasan. Even though he plans to use it as a mat, the next day he might sell it, and the owner will use it for shoes, and it's not ready, and therefore it's not mekabel tumah. Shel gazlan. Now remember, let's refresh our memories over here. A gazlan is somebody that steals openly. A ganiv is somebody that steals in stealth, sneaks in, a sneak thief. A gazlan is a robber that robs outright. So therefore, shel gazlan, in the case of a robber, ein machshava mitamasan. The machshava does not make it tummy. Why? Because the owner still hopes on getting it back, and therefore it's not the gazlan, so his machshava doesn't count. V'shel ganav, but that of a thief, machshava mitamasan. Why? Because by a ganav, since the person does a gazlan, he knows who the thief is. He knows who the robber is, so he plans to get it back. But a ganav who came in the night, so he doesn't know who it is, he gave up hope, and therefore the ganav acquires it with yesh, and therefore machshava mitamasan. Reb Shimon says just the opposite. Reb Shimon just the opposite. Shel gazlan, the robber who is so brazen that he comes and he's not afraid, machshava mitamasan. You give up hope. You don't want to deal with such a dangerous fellow, and therefore he acquires it, and his machshava therefore counts. Shel ganav, who's afraid of his own shadow, so there you hope you'll find out who he is and you'll get it back. Therefore, it's not his because the owner wasn't miyayish. So, a machshava mitamasan. His machshava doesn't help to say that it's a finished keli. Lefi shaloi nisyashu abayim, because the owners didn't give up hope. Amarula. All of this is only machlokes b'stam. It's only if we don't know if he was miyayish. Aval b'yedua, but if we know the owner was miyayish, divrei hakol yish kani. Everybody holds that Yish is kaina, while Rabba says even b'yedua nami machlokes. Even if you hear it was stolen from Abi, even if you hear that Abi says, "Oh, I'm never going to get it back," we could say that he really didn't mean it, and he still hopes to get it back. Amalei Abaye l'Rabba. So Abaye said to Rabba, "Lo tiflig alei de'ula." Don't argue on ula. The Tanan b'masnisan kavase, because on our Mishnah it says lefi shaloi nisyashu abayim. That Reb Shimon says that if the owner is not miyayish, then the thief cannot declare that the keli is finished. But time of the loy nisyashu abaylam. That's only because Abi was not miyayish. Avon nisyashu abaylam, then hariyelu shaloi, then the thief, then Marshall could declare that it's finished, it's going to be used for a mat, and it's going to be makabel tuma. Amalei, so Rabbah will say, no. Anan lefi she'ein yish labaylam masninan. I have the girsa that Abi's yish is not definitive, because even if he said it, we say that he's still hoping to get it back. Tanan, we learned in our Mishnah, not l'muchsin chamayrai, if the illegal collector or a thief takes Marshall's donkey, and he gives him another donkey, he takes his clothing, and he gives him another clothing, he could keep it, because we assume that the owner gave up hope. So the Gemara says, Mani, who's this going like? Rabbanan, if it's going about, according to Rabbanan, Kasha Gazlan. It's Shver Gazlan, because the Rabbanan say that the Gazlan, the owner doesn't give up hope by a Gazlan because he knows the person that stole it. And Reb Shimon, Kasha Ganav. The owner doesn't give up hope because the Ganav is afraid of his own shadows and he's hoping to get it back. So Bishleim Ula, Da'amar Biyadua Kani, that if Abi gave up hope, then everybody holds that he's kaina. Hachanami, where Marshall could take what the Gazlan gave him in return, it's talking about Biyadua, where we know that the original owner was Miyayish, and then it's going according to everybody, Divrei HaKol. El Rabba, Da'amar Biyadua Nami Machlokes, then who's it going about? Says Gemara, Loi Rabbanan v'Loi Reb Shimon. Says the Gemara, Belistim Ezuyin. It's talking about armed bandits. Oh, armed bandits. Reb Shimon, in such a case, with armed bandits, so there the owner gives up hope, because this guy is really dangerous, and the owner gives up hope. Says Gemara, but if it's talking about a Gazlan, then why does it need to have different cases of a Gazlan? Ihachi Hainu Gazlan, then it's the same case as the Muhsin, the tax collector, who's a Gazlan. So the Gemara says, Trey Gavne Gazlan, it gives us two cases of a Gazlan. Tajma, Haganav a Gazlan va'anis, a thief, a robber, a extortionist. Hekdesh and hektish, their hektish is good hektish. Ushrumas and truma, the truma that they give is truma. Umaisrois and meiser, and the meiser that they give is meiser. So now it says both Ganav and Gazlan. Mani. Irabanan, Kasha Gazlan, because we say that the Gazlan, the owner doesn't give up hope because he knows who it is. And Reb Shimon, Kasha Ganav, Shver a Ganav, because a Ganav, we say, is a wimpy guy who's not going to be, who the owner thinks he's going to be able to get it back from him. Bishleim al'ula dama b'yidu kani, that if you know that the owner is miyayish, that you know Abi is miyayish, then you acquire it. So hachanami b'yidu, it's talking about where is his truma and his meiser is meiser. It's where you know that he gave up hope for divrei hakoli. El rabba dama b'yidu nami machlok ma'ikil ameimer loy rabbanan v'loy Reb Shimon. Says the Gemara, hachanami b'listim bezuyin v'Reb Shimoni. It's going according to Reb Shimon, who says that a thief, you give up hope because you don't know who he is, and a Gazlan, even though normally we say you don't give up hope because you know who it is, he's an armed robber, and an armed robber you give up hope. So it says the Gemara, if it's talking about an armed robber, then ihachi hainu Gazlan, that's the same thing as a Gazlan. So the Gemara says, Trey Gavne Gazlan. It tells us two different types of a Gazlan. The Ibayasei Maham Asnis and Rebbe, it's going according to Rebbe. We have a third opinion. The Tanya Rebbe Aimer Ganav ke Gazlan. That a Ganav is like a Gazlan. Now, that could be one of two ways. The Kaimalan ke Gazlan the Reb Shimon. What it means when it says Ganav ke Gazlan is that Rebbe holds that the Ganav is like a Gazlan, just like Reb Shimon holds that a Gazlan you give up hope of because he's brazen. So also he holds that a Ganav is like a Gazlan, and you give up hope even by a Gazlan. And now the Gemara says that it's ambiguous when he says Ganav Kigazlan, doesn't mean that just like a Gazlan, since you know who he is, you don't give up hope, and it's saying Ganav Kigazlan, you don't give up hope with a Ganav either, or it's the other way, that Ganav Kigazlan, just like you give up hope with a Gazlan because he's brazen, so you also give up hope with a Ganav. So Gufa, Rabbi Aimer, Ani Ganav Kigazlan. Ibayalu, Kigazlan the Rabbanan Kamer, is he like the Gazlan of the Rabbanan? The Rabbanan say that you don't give up hope with a Gazlan because you know who he is, and it's telling you that a Ganav is like a Gazlan, you don't give up with the Ganav either, and therefore V'loi Kani, the Rabbah doesn't acquire from either of them. Oidilma, Kigazlan the Reb Shimon, that just like Reb Shimon holds that a Gazlan you give up hope because he's brazen, so Ganav Kigazlan means that the Ganav you also give up hope. V'kani, Tajma, not l'muchsin chamayrai, going back to our case, if the tax collector takes, the illegal tax collector, or the bandit, takes Marshall's donkey, he could take another donkey in exchange. Mani, Rabbanan, if it's going according to Rabbanan, Kasha Gazlan, the Rabbanan hold that by a Gazlan, the owner doesn't give up hope. Reb Shimon, and if it's going according to Reb Shimon, Kasha Ganav, he doesn't give up hope because the guy's wimpy and he steals only in secret. So Iyamish B'Shlomi Rebbe Ki Gazlan the Reb Shimon Kamer, that Ganav is like the Gazlan of Reb Shimon, so then it's no problem. Hamani Rebbe Mishamachi, it says Kani in all cases. El Iyamid Ki Gazlan the Rabbanan, it's like the Gazlan the Rabbanan Kamer V'loi Kani. Hamani, who would this be going like? Loi Rebbe V'loi Reb Shimon. Loi Rebbe V'loi Reb Shimon V'loi Rabbanan. It's not going like Rebbe either, because according to Rebbe, if Ganav is Kigazan and you don't give up for anybody, so this would be going like no one. Says Gemara, no. It could be that where do we say Marshall could take it? It's talking about armed thieves, Reb Shimoni. So the Gemara says, but if it's armed thieves and a Gazlan, Ihachi Hainu Gazlan, so the Gemara says, Trey Gavne Gazlan. There's two types of Gazlan. There's a regular Gazlan, Reb Shimon says is brazen, and even the person that's a thief who comes in with guns is also brazen. Tajma, Haganav Gazlan Va'anis, a thief, a robber, an extortionist, hektish and hektish. The hektish is hektish, trumas and truma, that truma is truma, or meiser and meiser. And their meiser is meiser. Mani. Rabbanan, if it's going according to Rabbanan, Kasha Gazlan, he holds that you don't give up hope by a Gazlan because you know who he is. Reb Shimon, Kasha Ganav, you don't give up hope by a Ganav because he's wimpy. Rebbe holds Ganav ki Gazlan, Reb Shimon, that you both don't give up hope, both like by Ganav and by both you give up hope, just like Reb Shimon holds that you give up hope by the Gazlan because he's brazen. Rebbe holds Ganav ki Gazlan, so Mishum Haki Kani. Then that's why it says that his truma is truma and his hektish is hektish and his meiser is meiser. Eliyam Ganav ki Gazlan, the Rabbanan, that according to Rebbe, that a Ganav is like a Gazlan the Rabbanan, and he doesn't give up hope by either of them. Hamani. Who is this going like? It wouldn't be going like Rabbanan, it wouldn't be going like Reb Shimon, it wouldn't be going like Rebbe. Says the Gemara Balistim Mizuyim, when it says Ganiv, it means an armed thief. Reb Shimoni says the Gemara, but then the armed thief is also brazen like a Gazlan, so that's two cases of Gazlan. Ihachi Hainu Gazlan, says Trey Gavne Gazlan. There's a Gazlan that's brazen when he steals openly, and there's a thief that's brazen because he's carrying weapons. Amalei Ravashi l'Rabba Toshma the Masnei Rebbe l'Reb Shimon Berei. Rebbe taught to Reb Shimon his son, when we say that if the father left the ill-gotten gains to his son, it doesn't mean just karka. Even if he left a cow, he was plowing with it. Or a donkey that he leads afterwards. He has to return it. But only because of the covenant of the tata. It's only because of the covenant of the tata. He doesn't have to return it. Shma Mina, so that would be a proof that he holds that both a thief and a robber all have a din. A thief has a din like a robber of Reb Shimon, and he's miyayish by both. Shma Mina, Rebbe Gazan Reb Shimon Karmer, and therefore it only has to return it because people say that that's the thief Chatzkel's cow, that's Chatzkel's donkey. Otherwise, whether the father was a thief or a robber, the owner is miyayish and the children can keep. Now the Mishnah continues, V'chein nechil shel dvarim, a swarm of bees. Says the Gemara, what's the chiddush? A swarm of my v'chein, hachi kamer. Nachman could go and keep the swarm of bees. Afilu nechil shel dvarim, the kinyan d'Rabbanan. Even on a swarm of bees, since they fly away, there really is no ownership d'oraisa. Just in order that there shouldn't be machloikis, they grant you ownership of a swarm of bees. So there I might think that if Nachman finds it, he could keep it even if he doesn't know if the owner is miyayish. So kedai termina hai kevin d'Rabbanan ba'alma hu dekanile afilu stama even minastam nami miyayish. Nachman could assume that there's years. Kamash malon, no, even by a swarm of bees, im nisyashu abaylam in, if the owners gave up hope, yeah, iloi, if not, not. Amar Rabbi Yechon ben Broika, nemenes isha b'katan, a woman and a minor are believed to say that the bees came from this person's house. Says the Gemara, isha cotton b'nei edus nenu? Can a woman or a child give testimony? Am Rabbi Yehuda am Shmuel Achab b'mayaskina kigayin show you balim marat v'nachreyan. Marshall is chasing the bees. The isha v'katan, and a woman and a minor said nonchalantly, not as testimony. They said, by the way, incidentally, Masich Lafi Tumim, talking innocently, V'aimer Mikan Yotzen Nechil Zeh, from Nachman's house, the swarm left. Amar Rav Ashi, Ein Masich Lafi Tumah kosher, you can't believe an incidental comment, Ela La'edus Isha B'vad, only to allow a woman to remarry, only to allow a woman to say that the woman's husband died. Amar Ravina Rav Ashi, but what about here? We said an incidental comment is good here too. V'loi vari nechil shel dvarim, the swarm of bees, masich lefi tumayu, says the Gemara, shani nechil shel dvarim, a swarm of bees are different, the kinyan d'Rabbanan. There, the reason why we believe masich lefi tumay is because it's only a rabbinical ownership. Says the Gemara, udaraisa lai, v'am Rabbi Yehuda, am Shmuel, Rabbi Yehuda said the name of Shmuel, ma'isa b'adam echad, there was an adult that was saying incidentally, V'aimer zichruni, I remember kishani tinik, when I was a child, umerkavni al kseifa shel abba, and I was riding piggyback on my father's shoulders, v'otziuni mibeis hasefer, and he took me out of yeshiva, v'vshituni es kesainti, and undressed me, v'tbiluni lechel b'truma le'erev, and he was toivel me so that I could eat truma in the evening. And from that incidental comment, and my friends stayed away from me, not to be matame me. Yochanan who ate challah. Rabbi Lakuna al Piv, and Rabbi said he was allowed to eat truma. So you see, Masich Lafi truma works even for a deraisa. Says no, but truma d'Rabbanan. It's only rabbinical truma. V'akate deraisa loy, we don't accept Masich Lafi truma by biblical. V'aki also Rabdimi Amar Rav Chana Kartigna. When Rabdimi said, he said in the name of Rav Chana Kartigna. V'imrila, and others say Rav Acha Kartigna, in the name of Rav Acha Kartigna. V'imrila, others say Rav Acha Kartigna Mishtoi, that it was related by Ravacha Katigna. Maisa Bolafnei Rabbi Shimon Levi, an incident came before Rabbi Shimon Levi. V'imir la Maisa Bolafnei Rebbe, it came before Rebbe. Betinik Echad, a child, she a Masiach Lefi Tumai. He was saying incidentally, V'amar Ani v'imi nishbeinu lebeinu akim. I and my mother were taken captivity amongst the Goyim. Yotzasi lishav mayim, when I went to draw water, dati alimi, I was watching my mother. Lil kaidetzim, when I went to gather wood, dati alimi, I was watching my mother. And she was never touched. V'yisia Rebbe al pivlakuna, and Rebbe, accepting the Masich Lefi Tumai of the child, allowed her to be married into Kuna and to believe that she wasn't molested. Says the Gemara over there also, even though it's a Doraisa Dika area, B'shvuya Hakilu, they were lenient by a captive. Avalo Yokut says Seichai, but Avalo Yokut, what?
You need a time check?
No, I'm finishing it out. Avalo Yokut says Seichai, but Nachman can't go into Marshall's field and cut down his branch to save his bees. And then we have another opinion that he could even go and cut down Marshall's branch and compensate him. Tanya Rabbi Shmuel ben Yosha Rabbi Yochanan ben Breika Aimer Tnai Bezdin, it's a condition of Bezdin that Marshall could, that Nachman could go into Marshall's field and cut down his expensive bench, and then Marshall collects a refund, compensation from the bees. He collects it from Nachman's bees. That if Shelley is going somewhere and Nachman's expensive honey, which is more expensive than wine, his sack has a hole, that Shelley could pour out his wine, and save Nachman's honey, and he takes reimbursement for his wine, and it's a condition of the court that Marshall can unload his wood, and if Nachman's donkey collapsed and his flax is flying all over the place, he could unload his wood, take the more expensive flax, and get reimbursement for his wood from Nachman's flax. Why? Why can you all do this? Shalmanas came because of this, Hinchel Yeshua Esaretz. Yeshua inherited the land.